leaders across Rhode Island about the dangers of anti-Semitism, and to share our hope for what comes next here in Smithfield. There are so many people in this room that I have to thank for being here and for standing with the Jewish community over the last couple of days. If I miss you, I deeply, deeply apologize. Just let me know, because I want to make sure that you're recorded as standing with the Jewish community. We have several rabbis in the room: Rabbi Barry Dollinger, Rabbi Alex Friedman, Rabbi Michael Fell. I'm looking at Rabbi Jeff Goldwasser. Did I miss a rabbi? Hopefully not. That's what's going to get me most in trouble, actually, if I do that. I want to thank Scott Gladstone from the American Jewish Committee. We have representatives from the governor's office, Jeremy Chiapetta, from the lieutenant governor's office, Mark Gray, and want to thank Treasurer Diosa is here as well. I want to thank Congressman Amo, and we have so many state reps and state senators here, Senator Zurier, Representative Boylan, Representative Knight, Representative Costantino. Did I miss any reps that are here? Oh, Rep Mia Ackerman, Rep Rebecca Kislak, my people, so I apologize. There are a couple of folks from the Smithfield Town Council that are here, Council President John Tassoni and Councilor Tom Winfield. Thank you both for being here. And then there are many clergy that are in the room that I'm just so grateful to be surrounded by all of you. Thank you all so much. Today we're going to hear from a number of speakers. As I said, Wendy Joring, my partner at the Sandra Bornstein Holocaust Education Center, Congressman Gabe Amo, Representative Mia Ackerman, Council President John Tassoni. We're going to hear from Joe Reddish on behalf of the Rhode Island Commission on Prejudice and Bias. We're going to hear from Jeremy Langell from the State Council of Churches, and we're going to hear from Jim Jans on behalf of the Catholic Diocese. I'm here today because I want to continue to focus on this issue because we need accountability and we need transparency. I want to share with all of you the timeline of events as we know them. On October 9th, WPRI and others reported on a letter sent to the Smithfield High School community from Superintendent Dawn Bartz that said an investigation was being conducted regarding, quote, an incident involving hazing and anti-Semitic remarks. 2 days later, as reported by WJAR and others, the superintendent said in a statement that, quote, the investigation confirmed inappropriate conduct among a small number of students, that disciplinary action had been taken in accordance with district policy, and that several student athletes will not participate for the remainder of the season. By that point, the superintendent was already working with our partners at the Sandra Bornstein Holocaust Education Center to come up with an educational plan. Now, up until this point, Smithfield was the model for how these situations should be handled. They conducted an investigation, they concluded there was wrongdoing, they provided discipline for the incident, and they worked with partners to educate the community on why incidents like this should not happen. The actions communicated to the Smithfield community and beyond that what the superintendent said in her statement, that, quote, the school district maintains a zero tolerance policy for hazing, bullying, and harassment in any form, that was true. But on October 22nd, we were informed that the students were back at practice and back on the team. And for the last week, we've been left with only questions and no answers. That's not how these situations should be handled. And our Jewish community here in Rhode Island has been left on edge and feeling isolated, trying to understand how and why a school district would confirm that this incident occurred, put in place appropriate discipline and an education plan, and then quietly backtrack on everything. Why would they miss an opportunity to provide critical education? As we all know, Rhode Island was founded by Roger Williams on the idea of religious freedom and religious tolerance. In moments like this, we need to dig deeper and we need to ensure that we're all living into those values. Anti-Semitic incidents have been rising in our state and across the country. We've had 30 incidents reported to the Jewish Alliance so far this year, and we know that most incidents go unreported. Across the country, we've seen a 344% increase in anti-Semitic incidents in the last 5 years, according to the Anti-Defamation League. So I can't tell you how grateful I am for all the people that we are surrounded by today. In a time where our community is feeling incredibly isolated, so many of you have joined with us, so many of you have reached out to us. over the last few weeks to share that you stand with our community. And to all those in Smithfield and throughout the state who have stood up with our community and stood up against anti-Semitism, I want to say thank you. I'll have more to say at the end on what we're hoping to see from the Smithfield School Committee next week. But right now, it's my pleasure to introduce Congressman Gabe Amo to say a few words.
Thank you, Adam, for your leadership. Thank you to all the leaders assembled. And I think we should reflect upon this room and the configuration of leadership that's reflected, from those who are elected, to those who lead our faith communities, to those who are members of this community and know that this is a moment to pause, to reflect, and to reach our highest aspirations instead of what we've seen that concerns us, that worries us, that inspires fear for people in our communities. And so I thank everybody for being here to advocate for the safety of Jewish Rhode Islanders against bigotry and hate. And unfortunately, this conversation is needed now more than ever. You heard Adam cite statistics. In 2024, the highest number of anti-Semitic incidents ever recorded. And this isn't a new trend. This has been on an upswing since 2015. So I want to be very clear and state a set of truths that you all know to be so, but we have to say them. Anti-Semitism has no place anywhere, not in Smithfield, not in Rhode Island, not in America, and not in the world. Now, the fact of the matter is we have to repeat that because we see people who experience it often. And I come to this from a position of core values. It's about people ultimately being able to live their full, authentic identities. That is their faith. That is their heritage. That is their background. That is their identity in full. And so that's why we're here today. That's the macro issue. Of course, we have an incident that we're responding to, but we need to sort of look holistically. You know, it's why we need to reaffirm our commitment to ensuring that no Rhode Islander of any age is targeted because of who they are. And so, with the permission of the people of the 1st Congressional District of Rhode Island, I've had the opportunity to carry this voice, this commitment to combating anti-Semitism to Washington, joining the bipartisan House Task Force on Combating Anti-Semitism, supporting the Countering Anti-Semitism Act, and leading bipartisan efforts to fund the fight against anti-Semitism and fully implement a national strategy to combat anti-Semitism. And this also includes work to fund the nonprofit security grant program. And that's for people of all faith, but we know our houses of worship are a target, and especially our synagogues in our community. And so ensuring that that pool of resources is there so that people, again, can authentically live their lives. But we have challenges. We have heightened rhetoric coming out of TV screens, cell phones, leaders, excuses, ignoring this rise. And we can do better. It's not an option. We must do better. And so I say to all the leaders in any capacity, whether it's at the school level, whether it's in corporate settings, whether it's the group of people you watch sports with on the weekends, ask, am I letting things happen? Am I letting words be uttered? Am I providing a permission structure for hate, for oppression, for anti-Semitism? And we call it by its name because it requires that. So my approach to countering anti-Semitism means combating it from every angle. And so we are not absolved of that responsibility wherever we stand. So my hope is this moment leads us to better days, But this moment is not one that we forget. This day is not one we forget. And I know the people in this room feel that way. So thank you for letting me contribute and serve you in Washington.
Thank you, Congressman. I can't tell you how grateful we are for your leadership in Washington on all subjects, but especially on this one. It means a ton to our community, and we're really grateful. Thank you. I also I missed two people. We have representatives from the Rhode Island Department of Education here too, so I want to thank Christopher Redden and Randy Rice for being here with us as well. Our next speaker and representing the House of Representatives is my friend and a member of our Jewish community, Representative Mia Arian, and I know she's going to be joined by the state reps and state senators who are standing with us today.
Thank you, everyone, for inviting me to allow me to share my outrage and my sadness with you all here today. And thank you to my colleagues in the House and the Senate for standing together on this. As the senior Jewish member in the General Assembly, the events of the past week are deeply disturbing to me. In my 13 years in the House, every year I sponsor a resolution to commemorate Holocaust Remembrance Day. It is a very solemn occasion when we share stories about our past, my own included, and the unspeakable atrocities that resulted in the murder of 6 million Jewish people. Our message is simple: we must never forget. Sadly, those lessons apparently haven't been learned by some of the Smithfield High School students who taunted this young Jewish student. To me, it wasn't hazing, it was hatred. Their ugly racial and religious slurs will haunt this student for many years to come. Equally disturbing is the reaction of some members of the community. I was listening to talk radio the other day, this past Tuesday, and there was a caller that said, oh, 17-year-olds are just stupid, boys will be boys, basically. No. I say this is not the way boys should act. This is not a harmless prank. This is deeply upsetting to me and all the members of the Rhode Island Jewish community. Making it even worse is the subsequent actions, or should I say, non-actions, of the school administration. They clearly did not understand the severity of this offense. School officials, who are supposed to be leaders and role models, instead sent a clear message to the students involved that this horrible attack was acceptable. I call on the administration to follow through with the commitments they initially made, both to discipline the students involved in accordance with district policy and to partner with the Jewish Alliance of Greater Providence of Greater Rhode Island to provide training and education to these students. Additionally, I am already working on legislation that I plan to introduce next session to help prevent these types of incidents from ever happening again in our Rhode Island schools. This is a total shanda, and in Yiddish, that means shame, disgrace, and embarrassment. The actions of the students were shameful and disgraceful, and the reaction of a few of the adult leaders in Smithfield school system was an embarrassment. Let us learn from this and move our community forward. At the same time, we must never forget. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Representative Ackerman, and all of the state reps and state senators that joined us today. Again, I'm just so grateful for your leadership and your focus on this issue as well, and your standing with us today. I'm pleased to introduce next Town Council President here in Smithfield, somebody who's been very outspoken about this since the beginning, John Tassoni.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Adam, for inviting me to speak today. First, let me send out my sincere apology of this unfortunate incident at the high school as the leader of the town council. This is not Smithfield. This is not Smithfield, because we have a few individuals that did the wrong thing at the wrong time for this young boy. As the magnitude arises of this issue, leadership is needed. Currently, right now, there is no leadership in the school department. Unfortunately, myself, Town Councilman Winfield, who's here, we can't do anything about this. The charter says that we can only do the budget with the school committee. That's it. If in fact I had the jurisdiction to do what I want to do, the superintendent would have been fired, the football coach would have been fired, and the athletic director would have been fired, because they all knew what happened, and it was all shoved under the Oriental rug. That's not Smithfield. The past few days, it's come to my attention that this behavior has been going on for a little while. Just think of that. When I was a state senator, I was lucky enough to head the bullying commission throughout Rhode Island. We went to a number of towns and cities. We gathered information. We put legislation in to combat bullying. Right now, all the schools from the Department of Ed have policies on bullying. Well, damn it, they need to follow it. They need to follow it. This can no longer be an act of children or young adults doing this to anybody. It's got to stop. With all this being said, it's time for change. It's time for change in Smithfield. I wish I could do it, but my hands are tied. I'm going to give you a couple of things that I talk about on my TV show. If you see something, say something. If you see something, say something. And we need answers. We need accountability. Enough is enough. I have a daughter who went to Smithfield. I have a grandson. I go all the way down to Coventry if I needed to, because that's where they live. I'll go all over the state now. I had 1,600 emails. And I asked Dan, hold the horses. I can't answer all 1,600. But they're from all over the country. I got one just a little while ago from Kentucky. And if people in Smithfield think this is funny, it's not. It's not funny. It's not funny in Rhode Island. It's not funny in the country, as the congressman said. From the top to the bottom. It's got to stop in Washington. It's got to stop in Smithfield. And it's got to stop in every other city and town in Rhode Island. It just can't keep going on. The rise of the issues that are going on today, and God rest his soul, my father would be flipping out. Because this is not Rhode Island. This is not the United States. This is not the world. We got to stop this. This is a train that's going down the track so damn fast. Somebody's got to put the brakes on it. Somebody has to put the brakes on it. What are they going to wait for? A young boy or a young girl who dies? Is that what we're going to wait for? I'm not going to wait for that. I know at night, and my council colleague Winfield, we can put our heads on the pillow at night, knowing that we're doing all we can. The town manager's in the back. He's doing all he can. But it's an uphill battle for us. Representatives, senators, we need to put a bill in. We need to put a bill in to give more power to the councils over the school committees. Because if we don't, and something like this happens again, we have no one to blame but ourselves. We need a little bit more oomph so we can do what we need to do. Again, if I had my druthers, the day before yesterday, the superintendent, AD, coach would be filing for unemployment. So again, I'm here. I'll do whatever I can to help out. Thank you for inviting me to speak. I'm just beside myself. It's an unfortunate incident, and please accept my apologies to the Jewish community. And hopefully this will never, never, never happen again in Smithfield. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Council President. We have a value at the Jewish Alliance called Hineni, and the way we interpret that is standing with others so no one stands alone. And in moments like this where our community can feel alone, being in this room, being surrounded by so many of you, it reminds us that you stand with us as well. And I can't tell you how much it means to me. We have so many folks here from various clergy and various denominations, and I'm grateful for you being here, and we're going to hear from a few of them in just a minute. But I'm also really grateful for the Alliance's partnership with the Rhode Island Commission on Prejudice and Bias and the work that they do and that we do in partnership with them to make sure that incidents of all hate, not just Jewish hate, are taken care of here in the state, and that we educate our state appropriately. So it's my pleasure to welcome Joe Reddish from the Commission on Prejudice and Bias to say a few words.
Good afternoon. I know this is a challenging time for all of us right now, but the strength is in this room. We've talked and we've listened about leadership. The leadership is in this room. Each of us are what I call a facet on the diamond of Rhode Island. Sometimes a facet needs to be shined, and we've realized that one of the facets need to be buffed and realigned. We as a community have to stand together. We have to educate one-to-one. We must hold our educators and are responsible for their actions and the teachings of our young people. Because if we don't teach them now, they grow into something different. What would have happened if this had been a robbery? Would we have just suspended them and then made it go away? Well, this was a robbery in a sense of mind because it robbed somebody of the value of who they are and what they stand for. We cannot allow robberies of our beliefs, what we look like, and who we are. It's up to us to stand forward and look forward to make those differences and educate. When we leave here, I challenge each one of you to talk to your neighbor, talk to a stranger. I always say, we walk down the street, but we don't look at each other eye to eye. Look at somebody when they're walking down the street and say good morning, good afternoon. That connects them with each of us because each of us is of value. And until we as a society and a community realize that we're each of value, nothing is going to change. Now let's bring it back to Rhode Island. Rhode Island is a unique state. We are a family of culture, immigration, integration, knowledge, education that's out there. We need to empower ourselves to set the example for the rest of the nation. We may be small, but guess what? A splinter hurts a lot. Rhode Island can be the splinter to the change of how we move forward and provide the examples of who we are. I wrote a little thing related to pride. Let me see if I can pull it up. You won't know this definition for pride is what you normally would know it as. P, promoting. R, responsibility. I, inclusion. D, diversity. E, empathy. We need to understand each other. We need to put pride back into what we do on a day-to-day basis. We are angry. Let's challenge that anger into action in teaching how to move forward, how to make a difference, how to respect each other when we hear our young people and our adults, because the learnings come from the adults. And so if we don't change how we treat each other and engage each other, or even recognize when something's not right, we cannot change it. Our coordinators here, Jen, and she has some flyers. One of the things we recognized on the commission is quite often we didn't know when we were being prejudiced against. And what's a hate crime? We have some handout cards that we give to all law enforcement. And I always share the story. When I moved here in 1993, when I drove up from Wyoming, Rhode Island, yes, I use Wyoming for a purpose. People like me were the ones that looked like me were the ones being pulled over. Rhode Island has one of the best law enforcement environments because we took an action, we recognized that a change needed to take place. And so we trained our law enforcement. We trained them to be inclusive and understand the different cultures. It's important for us now to figure out how do we train our communities in being accepting and understanding. Because I guarantee you, when you make a soup, if you leave out some ingredients, it don't taste good. And so if we don't include all the ingredients of all of our communities, Rhode Island's not going to taste good. And so I encourage you to put the spoon in the pot and let's start stirring it up. Don't be silent, be visible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe. It's now my pleasure to introduce Jeremy Langell with the Rhode Island State Council of Churches.
I'd like to invite my council colleagues to come on up as well, please. Council, clergy, and board members. Good afternoon. My name is Jeremy Langell. I'm the Executive Minister for the Rhode Island State Council of Churches. The Rhode Island State Council of Churches works with all of Rhode Island's major religious denominations. We have congregations throughout the state that align with our work, and of course, many folks in many communities. Bullying, hazing, and anti-Semitism are wrong all the time. It is an understatement to say that we live in challenging times. Not only do we struggle to have civil discourse, we lack the stamina to sit down and have courageous, difficult conversations. Our inability to do this is reflected in painful moments like the one we are working through today, where real harm was caused, but true accountability, or to use religious language, true repentance, has not happened. We often want to skip ahead to the healing and reconciliation part, but the acknowledgement of grief and accounting for what has been done are essential steps. We must do better. We are inextricably bound together in a common humanity, and in our daily lives of faith, we understand the importance of advocating for a love-based reality while acknowledging the very real pain we inflict on one another. Therefore, we continue to call on school administrators, city leaders, and parents to meaningfully address the culture that has allowed such unacceptable behavior and to engage in sincere efforts at accountability. Thank you.
Thank you all again for standing with us today, for being here, and for being such incredible partners always, and for that message of love, and we're just so grateful. It's now my pleasure to bring up my friend Jim Jans from the Rhode Island Catholic Diocese to read a statement from the bishop. And I have to say, Bishop Lewandowski has been a friend of the Jewish community since he arrived. We've met with him, and we're really grateful for his leadership in our state as well.
Thank you. I also want to acknowledge Father John Kiley, the ecumenical officer for the diocese, who's here as well. Adam, thank you for the invitation. I'm grateful to be here, but more so, my dear friends, I'm honored to be here today and to stand with you. This statement is on behalf of the Bishop Lewandowski, the Bishop of Providence. Today, we stand alongside the Jewish community of Rhode Island in decrying the anti-Semitic attack in Smithfield, as well as the growth and acts of anti-Semitism that are on the rise in our country. As Catholics and brothers and sisters in faith, we stand here today in support and in solidarity with the Jewish community and strongly rebuke and reject these actions that have occurred. The Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV, stated just yesterday, the Church does not tolerate anti-Semitism and fights against it, and that true dialogue is rooted in love, the only foundation of peace, justice, and reconciliation, whereas it firmly rejects every form of discrimination or persecution, affirming the equal dignity of every human being. Today, we stand with and pray for this young individual affected by this act, his family, and the entire Jewish community, as we affirm both his dignity and the dignity of all of our brothers and sisters that are under attack, and will work to combat all hatred and bigotry, especially anti-Semitism, in our local communities, state, country, and the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim. Finally, I want to welcome the Executive Director of the Sandra Bornstein Holocaust Education Center, Wendy Joring, who has just been a terrific partner in this entire ordeal for the Jewish community. When things like this happen, it's Wendy and her team that meet with the school, that meet with the families, that do the work on the ground, and we couldn't do our work without them doing their work. So really grateful to Wendy and want to welcome her now.
Thank you, Adam. I just want to thank the Jewish Alliance because we couldn't do the work we do without them and without all of you in this room. So the mission of the Sandra Bornstein Holocaust Education Center is to use the history of the Holocaust to promote human dignity, combat anti-Semitism, and confront all forms of hate. That mission guides us today, and we stand together in the wake of another painful act of anti-Semitism. But we gather not in fear, we gather in strength, united by our shared conviction that hate has no home in Rhode Island. To our elected officials, to our officers, educators, coaches, and community leaders, thank you. You have all reached out with words of encouragement and support. And to every person, specifically every child, who has been a victim of anti-Semitism or hate or bigotry in any form, please know this: Rhode Island is better than that. We see you, we support you, and we are working every single day to make sure your schools and communities are safe and welcoming places for all. I want to take a moment to thank Senator Tokoyan because he's been with us from the very beginning and was not able to be with us here today, but he has been extremely supportive. For 37 years, our center has gone into schools across Rhode Island with Holocaust survivors and children of survivors to share firsthand stories of the destruction that evil can cause. These lessons are powerful reminders of what happens when prejudice goes and hate goes unchecked, and why education is essential to preventing hate from taking root again. We work very closely with educators, and we provide them with the tools and resources that they need to teach the history and its lessons effectively. Whether it's 50 copies of the book Night for a classroom, maps for primary resource materials, or a complete curriculum, we are here to support educators. We are here for the entire Greater Rhode Island area to help teachers, students, and communities confront hate through knowledge and empathy. Our goal is to be in every school district in the state of Rhode Island, every high school and middle school, and to launch our elementary school program focused on kindness to others in 2026. We are there, and we will continue to be there, working side by side with our partners across the state. I am deeply proud of Rhode Island, proud of a community that refuses to be silent, and of a state that responds to darkness with light, ignorance with education, and hatred with unity. But our work is far from done. Anti-Semitism, racism, and all forms of hate continue to threaten the values we hold dear. That is why we must keep learning, listening, and standing together, because education and empathy remain our most powerful tools. So let today not only be a response, but a recommitment to ensuring that every classroom, every playing field, and every community space in Rhode Island is a place of respect and belonging. Thank you for standing with us and for standing up for one another and for the values that define us as true Rhode Islanders. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Wendy, for your words, and thank you to all of our speakers, not just for your words, but for your actions. As we finish up here today, I want to be clear. We understand that the school committee does not have the authority to reverse the superintendent's decision, but they do have the authority to oversee the superintendent and to ensure district policies are being upheld, to investigate everything that's happened over the last 8 days, to question why leadership has been absent while our community has been left on edge and in the dark, to question why a plan that was made to address what the superintendent called, quote, inappropriate conduct was not followed through on. Most importantly, to ask the school committee whether their existing policy for hazing, bullying, and discrimination has been upheld in this situation. The school committee is scheduled to meet on Monday evening at 5:30 at Smithfield High School, and I'll be there to ask the school committee to uphold its policies and its ideals, and I hope others will join me at that meeting. This has been an incredibly tough time for the victim, for his family, and for our Jewish community. I want to thank everyone who came here today to stand with us and everyone in Rhode Island and beyond who's reached out. The Jewish people and all Rhode Islanders share a core value, hope. And it's my hope that this can be an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to grow, and an opportunity for us all to reaffirm our commitment to the ideals of religious freedom and tolerance that our state was founded on. So I want to thank you all again for being here. I know the speakers are happy to stay back if the folks in the press have questions, and I know some of our community rabbis are also happy to do that, to share a little bit more about how our Jewish community is feeling right now. So thank you all again for being here, for standing with the Jewish community, and I appreciate everyone's time.